are you?
Good. Hi, Becca. I'm really happy to get to you.
Hi.
I am currently in film school, and I owe a lot of that to you because of the journey that you've taken, and I find you a huge inspiration. I've heard a lot of advice you've given. My favorite piece of advice you ever gave was don't forget to cradle balls and work the shaft. Something I remember throughout my life.
It's very memorable.
But I would actually like to know some actual advice for aspiring filmmakers, how to break through to create the kind of career that you have. You love it so much.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you want my career, man. Like, aim successful. But if you want my career, it's easy. Just do what you want. Like, regardless of whether it makes sense or whether it's fucking commercial or something like that. It's just about going like, well, this is what I can do. You know, there are many other people who can make great movies. I can't make a great movie. I can't make a Kevin Smith movie. And over 20 years, I've gotten better at it. And really, that's all I should be concentrating on. You know, it's like I sometimes get real lost in the career. And this is a real first world thought. But I lose perspective in as much as like I have no idea how I'm perceived by others. I mean, I know like cats here are like, we like what you do. And I've met some other filmmakers who are like, hey man, you do whatever you want. Like it's always interesting to me when I hear how somebody sees me. Like I heard some fucking dude describe to me, another filmmaker, describe my career to me, and I was like, fuck, I wish I was that guy. That sounded really amazing and stuff. But I don't really see my career as being successful. I've had this one thing that I've wanted to do since the beginning, and it's fucking stupid, and it'll never happen, but you need a carrot, you know, on the stick to kind of keep you going and shit, keep you focused. I've always wanted to make, and this is so dumb, it's not even a big grand dream, but I've always wanted to make a movie that made $100 million. Now that sounds pretty fucking standard or whatever the fuck, but it's a very thin bridge because it can't just be a movie that makes $100 million. It has to be one of my stupid movies making $100 million. Now that'll probably never come to pass because I don't have a mainstream sensibility. But every morning I wake up and I'm like, let's do it. And let's try to do it. And not in a way of like, well, let's calculate how one does that correctly. Because there's ways to do that sort of thing. Hook up with a very successful script or fucking, you know, write a screenplay that, you know, reaches all 4 quadrants, makes people happy and shit like that. But for me, it's never about doing it their way. I just want one of mine. Like fucking, if Moose Jaws made $100 million, I would probably just be like, because what's the point after that? You know, fucking, that to me would be amazing. Now again, it's like, the stuff I do is so fucking non-mainstream, I'll never reach it. But that's like my animus at the end of the day. The thing that kind of keeps me, my animus, keeps me going. The thing where I'm like, maybe one day I'll make something that like, even though it's stupid and mine, it'll connect on that real level. And in 21 years of looking to do that, I've been so myopically focused on like, that's my goal, I haven't paid attention to everything else that we have done that has been successful. And it all is successful by the measurement stick of like, you did it. But for me, I'm looking at this very thin fucking line of like, well, it didn't make $100 million, so back to the drawing board. And so I put together 21 years of doing that. It's kind of kept me pure in as much as it keeps me focused on like doing the thing that I want to do the most. But it's weirdly unsettling and unsatisfying because I'm like, I feel like a fucking failure most days. And then I come out on a stage like this and people are like, we like you and your career. And I'm like, oh, thank God, because I felt like a fucking failure. But then I go home and I think about what I've done and I'm like, I am a fucking failure. So it's not depressing, it's not in a bad way and shit where I loathe myself, but I feel like if I were to gauge my career on success based on the success that I wanted, I haven't reached that yet. But I never dreamed this big. Like I never dreamed it would go the way it did. That $100 million thing only came later on when we started making movies professionally. Clerks was just a dream of like, I just wanted to see if we could do it, man. Like I had a voice. I thought I did. Like, and I think at the end of the day I do. And that's a weird moment when you make that kind of agreement with yourself where you're like, your voice is important. Even though nobody told you, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's saying like, what you know is more than that person's, so you should express yourself more. But you just kind of start doing it because you're like, well, I got something to say, I got something to share. And everybody in this room has that. It's not unique to me, one iota. You know, everybody has this incredibly unique fucking story to tell. Your perspective, man, your voice is your only currency in this life. It's the only thing you've got, at the end of the day, is the prism through which you see the world and spit out your perspective. That's different from everybody else. It can be like mine, it can be like his or hers or anything like that. That's insanely valuable. Now, in order to succeed, people will have you think that you have to reach the widest possible audience and say something popular that everybody wants to hear. But I don't think that's the case, man. When you first get into the movie business, they try to hammer the originality out of you. Be like, do fucking what works and shit. Oh, every line of work is like that. They want you to do something that has fucking succeeded once before. But you've got something nobody else has, which is your fucking perspective. It is insanely valuable. That's what they want. Everybody wants a unique perspective. Everyone wants to hear something new. And we're happy to fucking hear something old retold again and stuff like that because it worked the first time and shit. But what people really crave is something they haven't seen before, heard before, felt before. More importantly, if you can grab them there, that's better than this or this. Pulling them right here and making them feel something they've never felt before. So you can do that. Everybody in this room has the ability to fucking pull that off, man, because you all have a unique story that's not unlike mine. Completely unlike mine. And you can tell a lie that tells the truth if you can do that sort of thing. So for me, I've always advocated just like, why not just kind of do you? They say on the internet now, you be you or you do you. There's no point fucking doing their stuff. There are thousands of people who are willing to do that. If you really want to make an impact, just stick to your own voice. It's tempting to do something else that succeeds. When you watch other people succeed at doing something and stuff, and you're like, all right, well, I could just do that. But stick to your fucking guns. Like, that voice of yours is fucking valuable. And they'll try to beat it out of you, but they want it at the same time. So always adhere to you, man, but always express that fucking voice. Nobody else has it. That's your fucking only game card in this life, is you can be like, this is how I see things. And people are like, that's interesting. I never fucking saw it that way. That's fucking cool, blah, blah, blah. You put that into any way, whether you express it in any form of media. It doesn't have to be making stuff. It could be like a fucking cupcake shop or fucking, making blankets or something. You just gotta fucking be your version of that. And you gotta use your fucking perspective. Tell your fucking story. It is valuable. Use your prism. They want your fucking prism, man. They're dying for it. So don't abandon creativity. Don't abandon originality, no matter how fucking sometimes it gets frustrating. There are times where I'm like, if I just make one of those stupid fucking comic book movies, I could probably make $100 million and life would be a lot easier. But like, that's not what's interesting to me. My voice is the only thing I got going for me in this life. Same with all of you. Your voice is your only currency. Spend it wisely and spend it as often as possible. Get it the fuck out there, man. Somebody's waiting to hear you say something. Somebody's waiting to hear you fucking say something that's gonna save their life. You know how many people I meet on a regular basis who's like, oh my God, Clerks is a movie that did X, Y, and Z. Oh my God, this podcast fucking saved my life. That shit's real. I meet people all the time, man, because I'm one of those people. Sometimes I'm hanging on the edge. And sometimes you play that fucking song and you're like, you know what, I think it's gonna be better, man. That's my go-to jam. Or you pop on a fucking episode of Degrassi Junior High and you're like, whatever it takes, I know I can make it through. You can just put it fucking together. So, my best piece of advice, man, is fucking be you, do you, don't lose that fucking currency. Don't trade it in for somebody else's fucking currency. It's yours, spend it like crazy. I usually tie that into a discussion about podcasting. I tell people every chance I get when I'm on stage, do me a favor, over the course of the next year, maybe 2 years, sit down, try to record a podcast. Even if you're one of those people, it's like, I don't fucking like to be in the center of attention. It's not about that, man. It's about that voice. It's about having an unchecked version of that voice where you can say whatever you want, express your fucking self, and put something out there. Like, make something. You know how many times you've listened to people on the radio or TV and go, they're not fucking smart or funny. I'm smarter or funnier than those people. You're absolutely right, man. And so if you wanted to do something like go make a movie, you could totally do it. If you want to show it in the movie theater, there's always going to be a gatekeeper who's just like, oh, I'll be the decider whether or not this is going in here or not. You can make any TV show you want, but if you actually want to show it on a TV station, there's a gatekeeper who's going to be like, oh, I'll see if we want this here. If you want to publish a book outside of the world of self-publishing, gatekeepers fucking everywhere. There's always someone somewhere to tell you, no, wait, or just buy enough time for you to be like, I shouldn't fucking do it anyway, and you drop that shit. Nice thing about podcasting, that don't exist right now. It's the wild, wild west, man. There's no laws, regulations, there's no FCC telling you what you can and can't say on open airwaves. the internet or anything like that. And you can say whatever you want. You can express yourself passionately about subject matter that means something to you. And there's an audience for it. It's crazy. And you can fucking talk about anything so long as it's like, I love this to death. Because people feed on that passion. There you are spending your currency of your perspective, your fucking prism, the way you see things, about whatever particular subject matter you've chosen. You can make a podcast not about all the fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just Leonardo. And you'll get to episode 100 before you're like, and guess what? Donatello was a fucking bitch. You know, shit like that. That's how fucking awesome it is right now. There's nobody who go like, you can't do that podcast. What? You can't do that. Not at all. You make it, you record it, you give it to iTunes, they fucking put it up, and you're a broadcaster. It's fucking crazy. Now, you can do it with friends, sit around with friends, talk about shit you love, sit around with family. One of my favorite things I ever did in the world of podcasting was sit down with my mother, and I gave her a bunch of weed cakes. She got high, and I just asked her a bunch of questions. I was like, what was it like to suck Dad's dick? And she was so big, she was like, it was luscious, tiger. She was telling me these great fucking stories about her as a person that I never knew. I've only known her as my mother my whole life. But I got into the nitty gritty of who she was before she fucking like got sidelined by having me, my mother, and my sister and shit. And one day my mom's gonna check out. It's unavoidable and shit. But I always have these recordings of the time we sat down together and had these really fun, funny conversations. Like think about, before podcasting, I would always, like my favorite memories were like conversations I'd had with my friends. And whenever we got together, I'd be like, remember that one time we were talking about this shit? Oh, and we relive it again. What I love about podcasting is you put a microphone on that, and suddenly it's captured forever. And whether you want to send it out into the world or just keep it for yourself, you'll always have a record, this wonderful conversation. When people die in this life, the first thing that you lose is the sound of their voice. You know, we've got pictures, and now in the age of the camera phone, everyone's got pictures. But generally speaking, the first thing that goes away is what a person's voice sounds like. It's getting harder and harder for me to remember what my father sounds like. He's been dead over 10 years. My grandmother's been dead over 20 years, and I spent so much time with her as a kid. But every year goes by, it's harder and harder to hear that voice because there's nothing replenishing it, nothing fucking new. Sit down with a friend, a relative, somebody you just really like, and record that conversation, and you'll be surprised how often you'll go back and fucking listen to it. Like what I've loved about podcasting is there's been a microphone on some of my favorite moments of my entire fucking life, and that's rare that you get to record happiness, pure bliss, or something. So try it out, man, and don't, sit there and go like, I'm not interesting, or I'm not a public storyteller. It's not about that, man. And it's not about being an entertainer or being even talented. Like, it's about having a conversation, and we can all do that. Everybody's voice is their fucking currency, so you can sit down and fucking express yourself, and there's no gatekeeper. There's nobody saying you gotta pay this. There's nobody saying you have to fill out this paperwork and shit like that. It's the wild, wild west. Take the opportunity to do it while you can. You be shocked at the things that will come out of it, man. The person you'll be because of that. And that's a great way to keep that voice sharp at all times. Because if you're into filmmaking and stuff, you only get to do that once, twice a year or something like that. If you're making shorts, maybe you do more. But generally speaking, you don't get to practice your creativity on a regular basis. If you have a podcast, or like maybe 10,000 podcasts, you can sit down in front of a microphone and just kind of like freestyle. Express yourself about fucking everything. Keep a record of who the fuck you are and stuff. But it also keeps your creativity sharp. Like, I wouldn't have ever worked with Johnny Depp were it not for a podcast. Were it not for us sitting around talking about that shit. Me then writing a movie and then going, hey, let's try to get this guy. So I encourage everyone in this room, man, like get a chance, go fucking record a podcast, man. And especially record it with like somebody you love, somebody older. I'm getting older in life, so naturally I think more about death than anything else. If you got a parent still, that's the person you want to sit down with and record. Or not just a parent, but somebody, who's not going to be along for this world that you're like, it's important to know who that person is. There's so many people I've missed over the years. I've never put my father on podcasts. I really wish I had and stuff. Jim Jacks. Jim Jacks was a guy I really wanted to put on a fucking podcast. You guys never probably met him, or no, you never met him, but you might have seen him on the Mallrats DVD. 10th anniversary DVD, he was interviewed and stuff. He was one of our producers on Mallrats. Great fucking dude, Jim Jacks, man. He was a dude whose work I knew before I met him, because he made cool movies like Tombstone, Tremors, Dazed and Confused, and shit like that. He was a dude I met at Sundance, 20 years ago, 20 years ago. Maybe 21 at this point. We had just won an award at the festival. Clerks had won this award and shit. And my friend John Pearson introduced me to Jim Jacks. He's like, this is Jim Jacks, he works at Universal. I was like, I know this guy's name. I was like, you made Tombstone. He goes, yeah. I was like, Days Confused. Yeah. I was like, you're a legend, dude. That's awesome, man. And he goes, I liked your movie. It was Clerk. I said, thanks. He goes, I was going to try to buy it. Harvey bought it. And I was like, oh, really? He goes, yeah, we would have remade it at Universal in color. I'm going to let you keep 60% of the content. And I was like, what was the 40% that wouldn't have made it? He's like, nobody fucks a dead guy in a Universal movie. I was like, fair enough, fair enough. He goes, I like the flick though, you got any ideas? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, for another movie. I said, well, yes, I do now, because you asked. And he goes, what is it? And I go, it's called Mallrats. And he goes, what's that? And I go, Clerks in a Mall. And he goes, come fucking pitch that, man. And I was like, right on, I totally will. So we went out to Los Angeles like a month or two later and did a studio tour, and people pitched us